Tonight, we are going to be recording. So if you don't want to be, be seen on the recording, just shut off your camera. I'm just gonna press that. And we usually record the meetings so that those of you who couldn't be here tonight can go back and look at the recordings and get the information that you need for your district. So thank you again for being here tonight. I don't know if Christine is here, Christine New. And some of my board members,
I will text them.
Alyssa and Michelle. But we want to welcome you tonight, and we have a great agenda for you tonight. The superintendent, Danielle Domingo, is not going to be here tonight, but in lieu of her is going to be Michael Daytona, and he is going to be giving us a presentation tonight. I will be giving a presentation tonight, and we will have a FACE executive director with us at about 7:30. So we definitely have a good agenda tonight, and we look forward to sharing that with you all. Michael, do you want to?
Sure. Yeah, good evening, everyone. Hope all you doing well. Have a few things to go over with you tonight. The first part of it will be announcements. And then the second part will be around some things for you guys to think about, especially in connection to your school. And at this point, many of your schools, if they haven't done so already, will be in process of sharing with you guys what that mid-year data looks like for your building. So we're going to just talk about just some benchmarking things that you as parents can ask for from your schools to make sure that this is part of the process, and it'll be a nice lead in to what Francis is going to present a little bit later on tonight. So just to get on with some of the announcements for enrollment, things happening now. The deadline to apply for pre-K is March 18th. The deadline to apply for 3K is April 14th. The deadline to apply for middle school is March 1st, which is tomorrow. The deadline is tomorrow. All students in grade 5 must apply for middle school, even if you're attending your zone middle school. All students must apply for middle school, and that includes K-8 as well. The deadline to apply for high school has been extended to March 11th. The registration period for LaGuardia High School auditions is also still open. Registration is due by March 11th to audition for programs at this specialized high school. Parent-teacher conferences, and please make sure as some of our schools do make adjustments in schedule, the dates that I'm going to share now are part of the citywide calendar. Some schools do make adjustments based on school-based need, but in general, is the K-8 schools. March 3rd are the afternoon parent-teacher conferences for elementary schools and K-8 schools. Students in these schools are dismissed 3 hours early. March 9th are evening parent-teacher conferences for middle schools and District 75 schools and programs. March 10th are the afternoon parent-teacher conferences for middle schools and D75 programs. Students in these schools will be dismissed 3 hours early on the 10th. March 16th are evening parent-teacher conferences for high schools, K-12 and 6-12. March 18th are the afternoon for high schools, K-12 and 6-12. Students on the 18th would be dismissed 3 hours early as well. We are getting close to that time of year. Upcoming state tests for grades 3 to 8, March 29th and 30th is designated for the ELA, the administration of the ELA assessment for grades 3 through 8. And on April 26th and 27th are the state tests for mathematics for students in grades 3 to 8 as well. And one quick health and safety update, as you probably have heard in the news, outdoor mask policy beginning today. Masks or face coverings are optional when outside on school grounds. As of now, masks are still required for all students, staff, and visitors inside schools. Your school will communicate changes regarding health and safety protocols as announcements are made. I know you have probably heard in the news recently that they are waiting a little bit longer on this to make sure that there's no uptick in cases. So at this point, masks are still required until further notice from Central. So as soon as we hear any new announcements, you'll wind up hearing from your school regarding that policy. Any questions about any of those announcements? Okay, we're good. Let me just share my screen real quick. Okay. And everyone sees the one that says District 25. Oh, it shouldn't say principals. I'm sorry. I had to change that. Oh, did I just lose everyone?
No, we're here. We can see you.
Oh, my computer's frozen though.
It only says Mike Dantona has started screen sharing, but you don't see anything.
Okay,
All right,
sorry. I don't
Mike.
know. Yeah, my computer froze. Sorry. Let's try that again. Okay, how about now? Can you see that, Esther? It says President's Council.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to go through this, information, as quickly as possible. I know sometimes looking at data is not always the most exciting thing in the world, just because of the different charts and graphs and such. But I do want to make sure that you guys are aware of things that should be happening in your own schools as well, as in alignment with things that are happening at the district level. So in District 25, we had six goals, much like what our schools do, have to do in terms of their CEP. We have a DCEP in the district, which Francis, along with other parents in the community, support in terms of organization of goals and asking key questions about them as the year goes on. But within this process, during this time of school year, every single school will have completed, as of February 18th, their second round of diagnostic assessments through iReady for kids in grades 3 to 8 for reading, and in math in iReady in 3 to 8, in K to 8 for mathematics in iReady, and for children in K to 2, it's the Acadience assessment. So all of our schools will have completed the assessment at this point, and we'll have school level information as well as individual information for you about your own children in regards to their performance. For us as a district, one of our big goals this year was around focusing on early childhood literacy and improving outcomes for all students, but with a specific focus on our Hispanic and Black populations, based on data trends that we've seen over the course of time. At this point, we have seen some progress from the beginning of the year to the middle of the year assessment. The goal was to reach 5% by the end of the year. We are 2+% at this point of the mid-year benchmark. We have seen a reduction of around 4.5% of students that are well below grade level, which is important. And we are going to continue to work on this as the year goes on. And that's for K to 2. In grades 3 through 8, we have seen a 10% change in student performance for children that are performing on or above grade level. And we've seen a reduction in the number of students that are below or well below grade level in reading as well by 8%. So we are seeing progress, and our two targeted subgroups, our Hispanic and Black populations, also grew by 7% in terms of children that are on or above grade level. So we are making progress. We still have a long ways to go, clearly, but we are growing as a district. And for you at your school level, it's an important part of this process is to be able to say what is the current state, where are we right now as a school, You know, and what are the things that we put in place? Are they working? Aren't they working? And those are important questions for you guys as parents to be able to ask, especially when you're, you know, participating in things like your school leadership team, and when you're engaging in your PTA meetings and such, is to be able to talk about where you guys are as a school and what those next steps are. Another part of our work was engaging our kids in social action projects. This is our second goal, is that all of our schools are participating in our Civics for All work as a community. And as a result of this, the goal is that all of our buildings participate in a project that promotes student voice and student action. So the initial phase of this work was something called Project Soapbox. And within Project Soapbox, kids had an opportunity to kind of share a little bit about something that is really important to them based on research. They've engaged in research. They've done their thinking about what change that they would like to make. And two of our students in District 25 were selected to participate in the citywide Project Soapbox Challenge. And they did really very well. One student was highlighted in the Queens Chronicle in relationship to something that happened right here in Queens. As you guys probably remember, Hurricane Ida in September and the damage that it inflicted in our community. This particular student got on his soapbox to talk to all those that were able to listen from the city in terms of redirecting funds to support improvements in the sewer systems in New York. You know, so these are the types of things that we're really looking to get accomplished in our district, that kids are really taking an opportunity to voice, you know, to have that voice and to take a stand on matters that are important to them. So we are in process of this, of reaching this goal, where all of our schools will be engaging in some type of social action type of work. Our middle schools are being given a participatory budget that allows the kids to make decisions around how they're going to spend those dollars to support some kind of action project. So we're really pretty excited about this, and you know, looking to grow this over time. As one of our key components to our work this year is around empowering learners, and we are in this process of those building blocks right now to support this on a larger scale moving forward. Another part of kind of building towards that whole idea of student voice is our work with Apple. If you guys are not aware, all of our district schools are participating in training with Apple. And the goal of the work with Apple is twofold. One is to begin using a tool, a model called the ALT model. And that's Authentic Learning and Technology Model, where teachers are beginning to think about the types of technology tools that we're using inside of our classrooms, so something called the SAMR model, where they're looking to embed tech tools within the context of the tasks that our kids are completing, so that we get to a space where it's not just about acquiring new knowledge, it's not about just making connections, but it's around applying those things into an authentic experience. And that's the training that our teachers are involved in, our administrators are involved in, to start creating tasks similar to these. We had a school that was in the process of engaging their children in third grade in a persuasive writing task. And children in these particular classes in this building were learning about gorillas and the mass killing of them within the rainforest. And this resulted in the children, you know, engaging in a process where they develop public service announcements through the use of technology for their peers across their building. And they raised $700 to adopt a gorilla within their school. So it's about taking that idea of applying new knowledge that they're gathering from research, and then doing something with it so that their voice is heard in the process. We had another school that is currently under construction, where children are supporting the design of what their schoolyard would look like. They're using their math learning around perimeter and area to design spaces inside of their schoolyard that would be able to accommodate things like their swing sets and space for where their court will be. So these are real life types of applications of the learning that is happening around them. And that's what we're looking to build upon in District 25 and what our schools are in process of doing. We have learned that we still need, based on feedback from our teachers during our sessions, that we need to continue to provide examples for our teachers to continue to learn and grow in this work. But we are excited about the prospects of the training sessions that we have been providing at this time. For our special education population, we are focused on improving outcomes for our special needs students, our students with special needs, with the focus on improving in ELA and as well as mathematics. Based on our diagnostic assessment that we took in the fall, the goal was by the end of the year that by at least 5%, we were increasing by at least 5%. What is exciting at this point is that we have grown to a space of realizing that we will meet that goal. There's a good likelihood that we will meet our goal of improving by that 5%. In the 18-19 school year, the last time that assessments were administered on a large scale, we were at 21% for our special education population. So we do seem to be surpassing that, which is good news, especially given the context of the pandemic that we've been in over the past 2 years. What you'll also see is conversation around MTSS, and this is something that Frances will be presenting on, and I will be joining her wherever I can add in some of my thoughts as well. But this is an important part too around how we're providing supports for students, using interventions such as level literacy interventions, something that's referred to as SPIRE, Great Leaps, Foundations. There are a variety of different tools that our schools are using that it's important for you to be aware of as parents, that if you're not sure which interventions that your school is offering, it's an important component for you to ask some of those questions around what does the school have currently to support children that are struggling in their academics, as well as in social emotional learning. So our schools do have tools that they are offering and supporting our kids that are in need of some of that additional support. Our multilingual learners, this is a new goal, that was developed by the district leadership team. Around December, a new template came out, and this is something that Frances and one of our other parents at the DLT kind of talked about in terms of our multilingual learners and some of the supports that we can provide to our MLs. And where we wound up landing was around some of the results that we received from the DESA assessment. That's a social emotional learning assessment. And what we found was that 26% of our English language learners were identified as in need of additional SEL instruction based on that assessment. So this has resulted in schools, especially what we call our CASE teams. And if you're not sure what our CASE team is, a CASE team is our cultural, attendance, and social emotional learning teams. And the goal of that team is to really organize around the supports that can be provided for our kids that are in need of additional outreach in terms of chronic absenteeism, or in this particular case, the things that we can do to support social emotional learning in our schools, particularly in the form of Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions, which might be some small group support in things like, for example, around self-management and self-awareness and things of that nature. What we did find, and this is something across all grades, 2 areas that were primarily identified as being most significant for our children was optimistic thinking and goal-directed behavior. Both of these things are connected to 2 core competencies, one in self-awareness, the other one in self-management. So what our schools are in process of doing right now is providing supports and identifying children that are in need of some of those additional supports in these key areas based on the DESA assessment. What we've learned is of the 4,000 children in District 25 that were identified as in need of additional social emotional learning supports, 1,400 of them are English language learners, which accounts to 34% of children identified as in need of additional SEL support are our English language learners. So this has resulted in our counselors working with me and our borough team to identify those children that are in need and providing some of those supports between now and the end of the school year. Our last goal is our mathematics goal. Again, the focus around improving outcomes for our targeted subgroups, particularly our Black and Hispanic populations by 5%. We have seen a 2% change in progress between our BOY and MOY. Our children in K-2 have seen I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Data indicate a 13% positive change in our Hispanic students performing 2 or more grade levels below, and nearly 14% positive change for our Black population. So we have made significant improvements between fall and winter assessments. Overall, we've seen a 14.5% change in students performing on or above grade level from the beginning of the year till now, and overall an 8% change in children performing 2 or more grade levels below. For students in grades K-2, there was a 17% change in the number of students that were on or above grade level. So we are seeing positive trends, and we do believe that between now and the end of the school year, those trends will continue in a positive direction for our district community. So what else we have here? Based on our initial projections, that the performance projections, we are slated to meet our current goal for our Hispanic subgroup, and it looks as though we're going to meet those projections for our Black population as well at this time. We're going to continue to monitor this work over the course of the remainder of the year, and look forward to you guys engaging in this process with your school leadership teams and your parents during your PTA meetings. I encourage you to invite your principal, your building leaders, to your meetings with this specific purpose of sharing what your current outcomes are as a school community, because it will help in those conversations around, well, what are we doing next for those kids that are currently not necessarily meeting standards? What are we doing for those kids that are meeting the standards? And what are we doing for those kids that are exceeding the standards? So it's a really important opportunity for us to take advantage of, especially at this time of the school year. And I know that our schools are preparing for this if they haven't done so already with you. Does anyone have any questions or comments around the information that I just shared? I know it was a lot in a short period of time, but does anyone have any thoughts or questions?
I don't see any hands up or any questions in the chat.
Okay. Let's minimize this.
All right, I saw Eloisa come into the meeting from FACE. Are we still running at the same time, Eloise?
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Yes, Christina Melendez, Dr. Christina Melendez is scheduled to come at 7:30.
All right, perfect.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, everyone.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, so that is all for me. Francis, if you need anything else or have any other questions, I'm here.
Okay, thank you. And I guess,
Sure.
Louis, do you want me to, do you have my presentation to share, or?
I don't have it. I mean, I have it, but I don't have it handy.
All right, hold
Yeah, I can open it for you if you want, Francis.
Oh, okay, yes, great, thank you. So, being that a lot of times when we talk about MTSS, a lot of the times parents are like, what is that? So I kind of wanted to present something to all of you as a parent's perspective, and to kind of just inform parents of what this really is, so that if your child or student that you're aware of, you can, tell that parent of the different resources a school can provide, to support your child. So if you see your child struggling, or whatever the case may be, just know that there are different levels of support that your school should be giving. And if you don't see your school giving that support, now that you're aware of it, you can ask for this support. I think that's what's really most important, is to have this information. So basically there's 3 tiers, right? It's MTTS. I'm sorry, it's actually MTSS. I have to fix that. It's multi-tier system of supports. It's a parent's perspective, and it just shows the different tiers. You can go to the next slide, Michael.
Sure.
I think there's one. Is that the first one?
Yeah, that's the second slide.
So we talk about what is MTSS. It's just a multi-step processing of providing instruction support to promote the academic and behavioral. It's not just academic. Sometimes our children go through different behaviors, or something's happening at home or at school, and we see a difference in their work performance. So we just want to make it clear that they could be both, or it could be one or the other. Individual children's progress is monitored, and results are used to make decisions about further instruction and intervention. And I say this is before an IEP, and we'll talk more about that later on. Go ahead, Michael. So we always have to check our students, right? And we have to see if they can't work independently. That's something, as they get older, might be a problem, right? A lack of understanding of the work, coming home and not knowing their homework, right? That's a red flag for us parents to say, well, why isn't my child able to do their own homework? So these are things that you look for. Loss of interest and focus, incomplete work, less confident in the classroom. Maybe they don't raise their hand because they don't know the answer, or they think they have the wrong answer. Feeling anxiety due to work, a drop in grades, teachers' concerns, behavioral problems in school or at home, difficulty sleeping, or lack of eating. So if you see any of these signs, or a multitude of these signs, that's something that you would want to talk to your child first. And then if it's affecting their academics or behavior in school, that's something you would want to talk to the school about. Okay.
Yeah, and Francis, if I can just quickly say something, I mean, I'm personally, in the process right now with my own son, who, when I look at some of those areas in terms of additional help, my child would check a couple of those boxes, so it's part of a conversation that I myself am also having, at the school level in my own home district where my children go to school. So it's important to make sure that if you're seeing some of these types of signs, it's okay. I know sometimes it's, there is also concern about, do I ask? Yeah, it's okay. If you're not sure that, and you think there's something that's amiss, it's okay to make sure that you're communicating that with the school.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Michael. Yes, and we all have our ups and downs with our children, and we see different things happening, but it's very important that we do communicate with the child and the school, and make sure that the school is providing the resources for our children, because that's the way they will learn, right? We have to make sure that everything in their environment is making them comfortable enough to learn. So that's definitely important. Yes. And that's why we have presentations like this, so you can identify. Now we have behavioral assistance. So it's not, wait, did you just skip, or is that the next one?
No, that was the next slide.
So we have behavioral assistance, and that can mean anything from, just supporting the child, helping them improve with social and emotional skills in school. It can be maybe, if your child has problems socially in school, whatever it may be, self-control, peer relationships, conflict resolution, low self-esteem, help with anxiety. That you can ask for the school to support your child in. And of course, they can help you with some ideas to support at home as well. So this support system is for this as well. Okay, you can go to the next slide. So what are you going to do? You're going to talk to your teacher, right? And sometimes you might have to involve the principal, depending on the conversations. If you're talking to the teacher and you see that everything is starting to work out in the right direction. But if you see that there's still not enough progress, then maybe we need to talk to the principal and the teacher together to come up with some different solutions. We talk to our children about what they're struggling with. We try to find the gaps. One of the things I do, I have my daughter do her homework first by herself. She's 9. And then I kind of come in after to see what she's getting wrong and trying to fill in the gaps that way, because that's the only way I know what she doesn't know, through that homework. Sit with them to see what help they need with, come up with a plan to help the student at home, ask the school how you can help your child, and most importantly, ask about the academic intervention services, which they know as AIS. What can be provided for your child? Now, this is very important for parents because we don't know what, this teacher terms are. We just know that our child needs help, right? And sometimes parents go out and they get private tutors, and that's fine. But there are resources in the school that you can ask for, but sometimes parents don't know that they exist. So this is one of the things that do exist. So this is why we want you to know about it, so you can ask if you need it. Tier 1 is basically, they do a lot of tier 1s in schools where they try to teach all the children, right? And give them a high quality education. But sometimes there's a few students that either don't pay attention or just need more engagement. And those are the children that we really need to focus on. So I think that now we're up to tier 2, right?
Yep.
So tier 2 is when those children that need a little extra support, right? They get into a smaller setting, because we always talk about class sizes, right? We say, if there's a less class size, there's more attention on the children and their needs. But unfortunately, we're an overcrowded district, so we have a lot of students in the class. So those that, are able to keep up will keep up, and those that are not, those are the ones that need this support. And hopefully the school will tell the parent and communicate with them that your child needs the support. But in case that they don't, if you have this information handy, you will be able to tell the school that your child needs the support. And that's how you can communicate it. So together you can create a plan for the success of your child. So they will have small group settings, and that is considered a tier 2. Then we have tier 3, which is a more intense instruction. So let's say they did tier 1 on your child, and they're still struggling. They did tier 2, they're still struggling, and now they get into tier 3, which is sometimes can mean a one-on-one situation, which is almost like a tutor in the school, right? And they come and they get someone to come in and kind of fill in the gaps of where your child needs more support in. They kind of observe your child, work with your child, and they get to see maybe they just need to organize their ideas and then put it on paper. It's just a little extra support.
Yeah, and Francis, if I can just quickly add.
Yes.
So tier 2 and tier 3 will often be accompanied with a specific program. So you'll hear programs like leveled literacy instruction. You'll hear programs like SPIRE. And each of these programs are interventions that are available, but specific to individual student needs. So, that time that a child is being provided this support is with a targeted research-based intervention that will help build some of those skills that a child might not have in order for them to move forward in their academic success. So in that tier 3, that's really what they're talking about there in terms of that, that specific instruction is really tied to something that is research-based.
Yes, and you can go to the next slide. So what are the key components to any MTSS process? All children receive high quality curriculum and instruction in the general education classroom. That's tier 1. The school conducts universal screenings for each student, typically given 3 times a year. These screenings help schools identify students who may need more support or other types of instructions. Another key component to the MTSS process is progress monitoring. Progress monitoring is a way for teachers to take a snapshot of how children are doing on a specific skill. It shows how well the intervention is working. It includes observation, tests, and other formal and informal assessments. Progress monitoring helps determine whether an intervention is successful or needs to be adjusted. And, you can always check in with the school and see how is my child doing in these, universal screenings, and ask for a report or ask them, just for information. So technically they should have all this information about your child in case that they need it for any further evaluation. You can continue. What questions can parents ask, right? We always often, we can ask, what is the curriculum being taught in my child's classroom, right? Every school, they get a curriculum that they can teach. They pick their curriculum and then they pick the books. Every school has different books that they pick. So we can ask what curriculum is being taught in our child's classroom, and what are the targeted interventions that my child's school is using if he or she is struggling in the classroom, right? You want to know, well, what do you do like when a child is struggling? You want to know the process. You want to know the process, and you want to know if the process is being executed the way it's supposed to be executed. What are the formal guidelines my child's school is using for progress monitoring? How will I be informed of the progress my child is making? What happens if an intervention is not working? All these questions are very important, and they're follow-up to make sure that your child is progressing, because that is the most important thing. Go to the next screen, please. Support your child, making reading an everyday habit at home. I know my kids, they hate to read. They just hate to read. They just say, Mom, I read enough in school. And I'm like, yeah, but it's not fun reading. Like, get a book that you just want to read yourself and just, read that. So it's still a struggle when kids do, they feel overloaded with work. But if you make reading an everyday habit, it eventually builds their vocabulary and it builds their, sentence structure. It just helps them. Communicate with your child's teacher. That is very important. And that communication should always be, a report card should never be a surprise to a parent, is what I say. It should always be that the constant communication from the first, day of school, right before the report card, you should always know how your child is doing, and know that if there are any issues, that you take care of them so that they're corrected. Monitor and assist with homework assignments. Ask for regular monitoring reports. And I know sometimes parents work, right? And it's hard when you come home, you're tired, but you can just take 5 minutes and just look at the homework. See, does the sentence, how are they forming their sentences? Does it make sense? I know sometimes I read my daughter's sentences and sometimes I read it like 3 times and I'm like, what are you trying to say? And then we get into that conversation and she's just trying to gather her thoughts and put it on paper. And that's very hard to do. It's very hard for us, even as adults, to sometimes express how we feel. And we sometimes say the wrong things when we really want to say something else. So that is a skill that takes practice, and we should start as a child. Ask for regular monitoring reports. Talk with your child about their progress. Learn more about the curriculum and interventions being used in your child's school. Attend parent-teacher conferences and other school meetings about your child. Go ahead, Michael.
Sure.
Thank you. Now, I mentioned before, this is before the IEP. Sometimes people feel, and like myself, sometimes parents feel that your child right away needs a special education services, which is an IEP, individualized education program. But before you get to that point, now know that at any time a parent can ask for their child to be evaluated. If you already know this is what I want, that is fine. But I will always recommend, before you go that route, ask for these multi-tier support services, because it might, fix the problem that you have. But if it doesn't, and you get to tier 3, right? And still you've tried the tier 1, tier 2 was tried and all this, then of course you can ask. But at any time you can ask for an IEP. That's at any time. I just want to make that clear. But it's always good to wait, because I believe the IEP is a process, and it's about 30 to 60 days. So, we want the child to get services right away, and just really see where the child is and fill in those gaps. It's most importantly to know what is it that this child needs support in. In addition to the information gathered from assessments and interventions during this process, other forms of evaluation must occur to determine, you might go through this whole process of this IEP and may not qualify for it. So it is a process. And, those that have gone through it know it is a process. Parents must give prior written consent, obviously, to get this IEP. They cannot do this information. Or maybe your school has done all these tiers and gives you paperwork and will suggest that you get your child evaluated. But in order for that to happen, they have to give you, the observations, the records that they have observed your child, and this is what they did. That communication will, you should always will have, if that is the case.
Yeah, and that's an important part, Francis, is that communication back and forth from the school. What is it that you've learned about my child over the past X number of cycles to let me know that this is really something that is necessary if it gets to that space where they're concerned about your child. So for you, and when your parents do come to you for any of these types of things, what Francis just said is really important in making sure that we're asking, well, what types of supports were provided in the interim to help my child be successful. So that's a really important point.
Yeah, and we are our children's advocate, and that's very important. They're young, their brains are still developing, and we have to acknowledge that if we see any problem, we have to go in and don't be afraid, talk to your teacher. And if you have to talk to the principal, but make sure that your child is receiving that education, because that's what our superintendent and their office, their staff work hard for, to make sure that our district is receiving these resources and our children are being supported. Coming back from the pandemic, a lot of the kids, they struggle to get back on track. And so that's one of this is a great opportunity to know about these types of services and make sure that our children are up to par. And make sure that they feel supported, so that because if your child is have a healthy mental health, they can learn more. So always know that there's parent engagement time, and that's 1 day a week. Teachers set aside about 40 minutes to meet with parents. So for example, like I sometimes 5 minutes for a parent conference is not enough, right? Especially if you want to ask all these questions, you need more than 5 minutes. So you can just ask your teacher for this time, parent engagement time, and they'll tell you the day that they have it, and you set up a time. You can do it, in person, on Zoom, on a phone call, whatever it is. And it's very important so that you can communicate and ask these types of questions or whatever questions you may have.
Yeah, and families don't have to wait until parent-teacher conferences for that. They have that flexibility inside of this 40 minutes of time to connect, whenever it is that's necessary for you and your school community as families, to make sure that those needs are met. So sometimes we think, oh, I just have to wait till parent-teacher conferences to talk about my child's progress. That can be done at any time. That doesn't have to wait until for events like next week.
I make parent-teacher conference time all the time. I'm always reaching out. Something on my child, I write to them right away and say, hey, I noticed that this is going down, or this seems to be, and the fact that these teachers know that the parents are watching and are aware, sometimes that's all it takes, and to know, hey, maybe I need to pay a little bit more attention. I mean, there's like 30 children in the room, and I get it. It's very difficult. So if you kind of tell them, hey, there's a problem going on here, or I see something kind of odd, then maybe you can resolve it. I have to say that, my daughter's doing much better now because of the services that, the support that I've been giving her, and the school now is reciprocating that back. So it's really good, and it boosts your child's student confidence up, that they can do it and they can answer these questions and they can learn. Here are some sites that we have, and there's more out there, but these are free sites that I put on here. Of course, the Department of Education website has like tons of stuff about PTAs, about schools, about health screening, COVID tests. Everything you want to know about the Board of Ed of your child's school is on there. There's a thing from the UFT that supports us as Dial a Teacher. They actually, this is part of their organization, and you actually can call, and I believe they have all different languages, and they're there, I think, until, I'm not really quite sure of the time, maybe 6 p.m. if anything. But you know, if you do the homework after school, I'm sure they'll be there. You can actually go and call them. You give them the actual book that you work off, whether it's Go Math or whatever it is. You tell them the actual exercise, and they have all the books. So, oh, it's 4 to 7.
4 to
Monday-
7, Monday through Thursday.
Yeah, Fridays you're on your own to do your homework, but I've never had to try this because, you know, I usually can figure out the homework, but you know, I always tell people about, I think it's great, you know, that the fact that they have all the books and you can just tell them and exactly, and they'll explain it to you. So, I mean, I usually go on YouTube as well to Google some math problems, and I learn a lot that way. Or I just kind of read back at the children's book and look at the summary. But that's a resource that's out there, and you know, people are there working every day. You might as well take advantage of it, or at least try it out to see, you know. Khan Academy is so great. I use Khan Academy, and what's great about Khan Academy is that you can use their student account to sign on, and it actually keeps their progress. So if you do math, you know, whatever grade, and then whatever you decide to just do 15 minutes a day, and then you leave, when you come back, it actually saves where they last were. And I think it's so great. They have videos that help them with hints. It's a great website. You should definitely check it out. They have science, they have math, ELA, everything. Engage New York is almost the same as Khan Academy as well. So there are resources out there to help your children. I can't express how parents are very important. Parents, guardians, you know, we play a critical role in supporting our children and learning in school. You know, it shows that the more we're involved, the more the student learns and the higher their student achievement. It takes a team, so we can't do it ourselves, right? The school has to work with us, but we are definitely an important role. And if you can't, you know, for whatever reason, due to language or try to get another adult or some type of other option to help provide this, you know, the student, because they definitely need our support. They're growing, they're learning, and they look for us for guidance. Go to the next one. So most importantly, we want to see all our children succeed, right? And you see the pictures of the kids and they're so happy. And that's what we want. We want some smart, smiling kids that behave at home. Maybe we won't get all of that, but we'll get most of that. So that's basically it. And you know, we're going to be presenting a little bit of that on the SLTs. We have a question here. Are these slides available to include in my next PTA meeting? Absolutely. I'm going to put it in my email. I'll put in, hold on. I'll put in. I'll put in my email there. If you want a copy, I'll definitely, as a matter of fact, I can put a copy. I just have to make a change for, let me just see if I can do that. I don't want to send it out. Well, you know what? I'll send it here, but then I'll make a change. Hold on, let me see if I can just. Okay, I put it into the chat. Natalie, if you can see it. If you can't, then email me and I'll send it to you. Yes, please, you can present this yourself. If you have any questions, I try to be very specific. I mean, again, the specifics will change throughout for the children, right? Every child has different needs. So we can't, you know, I can't tell you what your child will need. That is a conversation you have to have with the school. And there you can move forward with that and then say, and you know what? Those of you who are on the SLT, ask your school, what are they doing now with children who are struggling? Find out what's happening in the classrooms and, you know, and just, you know, make sure that what's trickling down. Speak to parents. Sometimes parents are afraid to speak up. They just don't know what to say and stuff like that. Oh, I see some questions here. Hold on one second. Can MTSS be used in purely behavioral situations? Yes. Remember we said it's either academic, behavioral, or both. But yeah, so if let's say the child is doing very well in academics, but something's, you know, socially or a behavior issue, you can just, it can just be a behavior support.
Yeah, and those are questions too, just in terms of what are the tier 1 and tier 2, tier 3 supports that that the school is offering. Most often the tier 1 supports are in the form of programs like Sanford Harmony, or some of the schools have like a Cloud9, you know, character building types of programs inside of their schools. And then they'll do other things for children that might need additional support inside of their for their social emotional learning types of needs. So yeah, that's an important question in terms of what are those supports. But yes, it does not have to just be academic. It can be one or the other or both.
Yes, and I was just gonna say, I just forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, and each school is gonna be different how they provide these services, right? Some schools may have the resources to do it 5 days a week, some 3 days a week. I mean, whatever it is, these are conversations that you have with your school, and great conversations to talk about in your SLTs to implement stuff. Parents, you have ideas for your school. That is what the SLT is there for, to give them this. Hey, we just went to President's Council meeting. This is what they spoke about. And, you know, we want to know what is being used in our school and what services are we given? How many times a week do they do it? Is it different from every child? You know, every child might have different. And of course, the progress, you know, your child may be on a support system and then they may not need it anymore, you know? And anytime you feel you need it, they can go back on it. So I think it's very important for parents to know this, because what's happening is a lot of parents right away go to the IEP, right? They just say, you know what, my child is not, I just get them evaluated. And that's fine if that's what you feel, but it's not fine if you don't know about the other resources. You know what I mean? Find out before what services you can get. And if that's the only option, then, you know, that's the only option. But there are a lot of different options. It's something I learned this year. I never knew about these services. My mom, you know, was a special educator for 30 years. She just retired. And I was telling her about this information and she's like, well, what AIS services are they giving? And I'm like, huh? I didn't even know what that was. So this is very important. And that's why I wanted to share this with parents, so that you can get educated on, you know, what to expect. So any other questions? Anybody? I don't see anybody's hand raised. Thank you, Natalie. You're welcome. Anyone else? Okay, so we have 2 more minutes before our FACE Executive Director, Christina Melendez, comes in. Is she here now? No, not yet. Okay,
No, I don't see her checking in now. Just give her a few more minutes.
okay,
Can I make
so,
a quick announcement?
oh yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to tell everybody that the next CC meeting is coming up March 8th. It was supposed to be March 2nd, but they moved it to March 8th. So just an FYI, the next District 25 CC meeting is scheduled for March 8th. Remember that you can always go to the district website for all the information. The same place where you logged into this meeting, you see other tabs for Community Education Council. You see all the different tabs, and that's where you can get all the information on meeting times and dates.
Esther, I want to just make sure you said the 8th. It's a Tuesday, not a Wednesday,
That's
right?
correct.
All right, because it's normally on Wednesdays. Okay.
Correct. This one they moved it because of parent teacher conference. So they went ahead and moved it to the 8th.
Okay.
I see Bibi Matadine here. Bibi is from Queen South, but she's here, I think, to introduce Christina. I'm not exactly sure. Bibi, you want to say hi? I know Eloise is here. I see her, but I don't know. There you go.
Hi, Esther.
Hi, Bibi.
How are you?
Welcome.
Thank you.
Do you want to introduce yourself or?
BB's on another meeting. She's
Oh,
tag
she's
teaming,
a.
but
Oh, okay.
you know,
She
just
has her picture, so you can see her picture.
Yes. So
That-
Bibi works Queen South, and she's also working with us, Queen North. And Eloise is also, but Eloise works with us, and our person that was with us moved on, so we're gonna get another person, right, Eloise?
well, we're waiting to hear more direction from our new executive director. She's been with us a little less than a month. As you said, Esther Sharon has moved on to another position with the DOE. So right now we're sort of trying to be all hands on deck in terms of who we have left on our team. And so, you know, I'm available to you if anything comes up, and I'm staying in close contact with you, Esther. But Francis, I'm also here available, you know, the same way that Sharon was whenever you had any urgent escalations and things that came up. So yeah, I don't have a lot more information than that
All right.
at this time, but you
Right.
know, we're here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And welcome to both of you. You're in the best district in the house, so
Thank you.
You.
And I'll send Dr. Christina a ping. I know that she's coming from another meeting.
like I said before, there's multiple meetings tonight, so if you do hear, I'm on another meeting on the side, so I apologize if you hear the background of that meeting.
I shared our President's Council email for those
Thank
of you
you.
attending the meeting tonight. You write in any questions you have, any issues you're having with your PTAs, and Esther and I will get back to you within 24 to 48 hours. If we don't know, we'll still get back to you and let you know that we will get that information. Hopefully, it's not complicated enough, right, Esther? Usually, we're good at responding. Sometimes we get a lot of simple questions, but you know, sometimes when you're new on the PTA, these are not simple questions, right? But anything that we can answer, we're here to support you guys. We want you to have great PTAs, and we seem to have a lot of great PTAs in our district. So keep doing the great work. Is Christine here or? Not yet, Christina.
I'm here.
See her
Bibi's
yet.
here.
I was
Bibi's
talking before.
I just want to remind all the parents, if you have not done your parent guardian online survey for the school, please go ahead and do it. The deadline is March 25th. And so if you have not done your school survey, please go ahead and do it. It started from February 14th to March 25th. Encourage all your parents in your school community to go ahead and fill out those surveys. If you have any questions, shoot me an email. That was my little quick reminder. Hey,
Thank
Bibi, you're on.
Bibi's on. Bibi, did you want to say something or you just listening?
I'm just stopping by in support and to be in community with all of you. I mean, thank you for the warm welcome and all of the love. I appreciate each and every one of you and what you're doing. And it's so great to see you, Esther and Francis. I mean, in this space, right? And maybe I'll try to come on more often and attend these meetings, right, Eloise? And to just be in the space. But you guys are
Everybody's
doing a
always
wonderful
welcome
job.
at District 25.
But
So,
wait, Esther, this is completely, I can't be biased to say the best district, right?
well, we are.
But one of the best
See,
before I
on
get
the
into
bottom, Team Awesome right here.
a lot of love and support from you guys. You know that we're always happy to partner with you and support you in this work.
It's definitely a group effort. We have great superintendent, great staff, great parents, parent leaders. So thank you for being parent leaders, because without you guys, we we wouldn't have, and this is like the biggest volunteer job in the world. But I have to say, you know, I've been a parent leader for going to be 10 years now. And I have to say, I've learned so much from coming to these meetings. PTA meetings. I mean, a lot of parents think, oh, PTA meetings are going to talk about cookies. No, you get to find out firsthand what's happening in your schools. You come to the President's Council, you get to find out what's happening in our district, you know, and then you go to more meetings and you get to find out what's happening in our city. It's so important because a lot of the changes that I see, great changes that are happening in our schools, are because of parent leaders. And so I say to you, you're a parent leader, you're making a change, and you're supporting your district. So you are making a change. And that's why when I go to PTA elections, I'm like, come on, guys, you got to step up, because without you, the school doesn't win. They need that support. You know, it's a big team effort. So thank you. Thank you for being here. I don't know if Christina's here yet. So at this time, I'm going to open it up for any general questions or any questions you may have, what you've heard today or about your PTA or any type of fundraiser that you're going to have or you want to share with, whatever. I'm opening up the floor to any of you. You can raise your hand, you can say it in the chat, or you can just unmute yourself. We either have a quiet or they fell asleep or oh, Christina's here. Well, I know Natalie didn't. Natalie was
All
at.
right, she's here.
Okay, welcome Christina Melendez. We welcome you.
Welcome.
If you're ready, you have the floor.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. It is 7:30 at night, and you guys are all working really hard in support of all the children in District 25. And I can't say anything but thank you. That's my own child calling me, excuse me. It is such a pleasure to be here. You're my first President's Council. I always end up in Queens for the first of everything. This is a sign. This is definitely a sign. But a little bit about me, if you don't know me, I've been an educator my whole life, was a teacher in a classroom, was a school leader, and worked at a district, all in the Bronx and the Heights, which is why it's time for me to go to Queens, I guess. But I've spent a lot of time, 15 years, doing the stuff I love to do, which is work with children and families. And after all of that, I realized that you know, I spent a lot of time really trying to be supportive of kids. And I realized that the work is with the families, that if we work with families, if we help ourselves as the school system and support families in understanding their expertise, they are truly the experts on their children. And if we marry that with the expertise of our staff, our curriculum experts, our teachers, that's when academic success happens. And so I took some time off and I went to get my doctorate and did a whole bunch of research on just parenting and parenting practices and how parents raise children. And I learned a bunch of things, and I came back and I could have gone anywhere, but I was like, nope, I kind of want to hang out with family and community empowerment. And this is how I landed here. But I'm really excited to do this work, to learn alongside of you, and to really build parent leaders. It's such a necessary thing, and you guys are on the ground doing the work every day. It's really important to say it's voluntary. And you're up all hours of the night, really worrying and thinking and strategizing around how to do better for the kids in your school district. And so I think long-term, there's going to be some changes you're going to see with FACE, not just because I'm new, but because we want to be better at really connecting to the work that needs to happen. That there's a lot of work that kind of gets lost because we spend a lot of time doing some of the governance work that is also extremely important, but there's work on the ground that that you guys do every day that we can also be even more supportive of. So we're thinking of new ways to do that. So you may see some things coming. Know that your input is important, and I'll definitely come back and ask through Eloise and BB for more support around, or your thoughts around some of the changes that may happen once we finish cooking them in-house. But we really want to know from you what's going on and what you think and where can we do better. So I'm excited, and thank you for this time. I don't know if you guys have questions for me, but I'm happy to hang out and anything.
Any questions for Christina? No questions. Thank you, Christina. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please, thank you. So I just want to reiterate the presentation I did tonight. Please share it with your PTAs if you want, you know, if you want me to do it at your PTA, just let me know. Meeting, I can work it out with you to attend one of your PTA meetings to do it. So I'll offer that to you. But I think you guys can, you know, who's here today will be able to present it. And again, any questions that arise in the presentation, again, tell the parent that they need to talk to the school and the teacher, because every child is going to have a different type of support, right? It's not going to be the same for every single child, and every child is not going to need the same exact support. So that's very important. So we just want to start these conversations, but they need to exist with you and the school. Okay, so that's basically it. It's just, we're here just to give you this information and give you resources for you to have. So I don't know, are there any other questions? There's been no questions tonight. I think this is like, does that go on like our book of history? We've never, well, we did have a few questions, so I can't say we had no questions. But we had no PTA questions, which usually we get.
But everybody's always welcome to email myself and Francis. We'll get the answers to you ASAP. Or anything that you might need, we're here.
Yes, and it's always one thing I will say, you know, the A660 is the great way to kind of look and read. I know it's a big document, but you know, you can read parts of it. Like I'm still reading it. It's been, you know, several years, and I'm always going back to it if I want to know something about fundraising, or I want to know something about, you know, elections, or I go back to that document and I kind of read it. Then I go to our bylaws, right, and make sure that whatever's in there is matching whatever the A660 is, and then you kind of gear to that. So I don't, you know, I always tell people when they come and ask me questions, hey, how can I do this? And say, what does your bylaws say? Right? So I always say, go back to your bylaws. And if your bylaws is missing something, then you go ahead and you change it. You change it with your community and you say, you know, I need to change this. I noticed that this says this. Like one of the things I always tell, change your bylaws to every position can be a president or co-president. You know, give yourself flexibility for your PTAs, because sometimes people don't want to come in by themselves, or they want to come in as a team. And so give that flexibility. So look through your bylaws. I think right now, Esther and I have been working with a lot of the PTAs to tell them to update their bylaws. They need to be updated every 3 years. So look at it. Right now, there's a lot of verbiage of because of the pandemic, right, of online payments and so forth. So we need you to have that. And the template is on the actual bylaws on the DOE website. So go there. The information is there. I can't tell you. I even saw information like school statistics on there. There's a lot of information on there. So it's definitely a great resource. And read your bylaws. And you know, right now I'm working with my PTA. We created a little bylaws team where we're gonna look and meet and look at our bylaws and see, are they good and what we need to change, and then we bring that to our community. So it's something, it actually tells you how to run your PTA. And anything, any question, if you have any doubts, please reach out to myself or Esther, because you don't want to do something, right, that's going to penalize your PTA or your school. So it's better to ask and find out than to do something that you have a doubt in, you know? And that's basically it. Thank
So
you.
Francis, could I just say one quick thing?
Go ahead.
Francis? Okay. So guys, I just want to reiterate one important part just around MTSS and the presentation that Francis provided. Just want you guys to know that this is something that is part of district work through the context of CEC. Francis presented at the CEC, presented at our district leadership team. We'll be supporting our SLT training in another week or so. And certainly through you guys as presidents of the PTA, having consistent common conversations around improvement will certainly help bolster the work moving forward. So please make sure that you bring this back and have these conversations at your school, because it will certainly benefit all of us as a district community. So thank you, Francis.
Yes, thank you. And like I said, a lot of the changes being made in this district for all our children are coming from parent leaders like yourself. So our voices are important. And the more that you get involved, the more changes you will know what to make. You know, you come to these meetings, they're very important, very informative, and you get to know your resources. I can't express what I tell parents all the time. You go to the PTA meeting and they're like, well, you know, oh, I thought it's for the PTA. And I'm like, well, you are part of the PTA, you know, and sometimes those little conversations, and I cannot express how many parents have come, you know, and say, well, I don't know if I can do this PTA thing. And they go in and they find out how amazing they are and how organized they are and how, you know, and they come back and say, you know, I should have done this years ago. So you get to find out stuff about yourself that, you know, wow, I didn't know I could do this. And it's not as difficult. You work as a team and it's not as difficult. That's why I always tell people, you got to get on the PTA. You got to get in there. My son is in middle school. He still loves me. He actually asked me if I was on the PTA. And he's like one of the rare middle school students to say that, but he likes me involved. He feels like I'm connected to him and the school, you know, and my daughter goes around saying, my mom is the president of the school. And I'm like, I'm not really the president of the school, but, you know, she feels, you know, honored for me to be on the PTA. And that's because she knows I care. I'm involved and I want to know. And there are parents who do work full time. And I've seen some amazing full-time parents that work full-time and they're amazing presidents. So if your school, you know, I can't express how much we need you and how great you make our district. So thank you. And we have a comment. It's so hard to have parents to come to a PTA meeting. Yes, it is. That is a problem throughout every PTA. So you have to find creative ways, you know, sometimes you may have a raffle, sometimes you may want to give out, you know, I find that having an agenda of maybe parents speaking, like sometimes, believe it or not, Children's Cohen's Hospital has spoken in our meetings and they give some really good information. Sometimes police officers have spoken at meetings and I find them, you know, to have great information. And I think parents will come more, and just letting parents know what's going to be at these meetings. Also, to get more attendance, believe it or not, when they have the Student of the Month award, a lot of parents come. Before we go, thank you, Christina, for being here. She has to jump on another meeting. Thank you so much. And we look forward to working with you. Thank you again. Have a great night.
I mean, thank you. And I'm going to take you on the road with me. You're like on it. So thank you all.
Thank you. What was I saying? Oh, there's creative ways, but I find that Student of the Month award, we usually give the awards at the end, right? So that all these parents have to hear this information and stuff like that. But it's a problem, you know, it's not just, it's every PTA. As you could see, we only have, you know, 14 people at this meeting, you know, but when parents really realize the value of this information, they would all attend, you know? So it's our job to keep informing them. So that's all I can suggest. So thank you, Stephanie, for that comment. Anyone else?
I
Okay.
think that's it.
7:48. Any other questions before we wrap things up? Now, Christine, is Christine here? Oh, no, she's not here anymore.
No, I
Not-
think she had to,
No, not
also-
new.
yeah, she had to also step away.
All right, so we'll table the minutes for that and our treasury's report. I mean, there's really not much. We haven't been back in the building, so it's been the same. So at this time, it's 7:48. So if we don't have any other questions, we're going to wrap this. Can I get a motion to end this meeting? Any parent can unmute and second, or you, I mean, first? Someone say something.
Princess,
Yes?
I'm pulling Christina away to District 29 Press Council. She's doing her rounds, so I'll hop off, and it's good
Okay,
to be
bye,
here.
Vicky. Thank you so
Bye,
much.
baby. Nice seeing you.
Smooches and love, lots of love.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Can I
Hi,
get,
Francis. Yes, it's Antonella from IS-25. Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Bye, Antonella.
Hi.
okay, and thank you, all of you. Can I get someone to second that? Okay, thank you, Alice. And we will close out this meeting at 7:48. And we thank you again. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you. Thank you all who came today. Have a great night and know that we're here to support you, and email us and we'll get back to you. Thank you again.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good night.
Have a
Good
great night,
night.
everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye, Eloise.